Hi there, welcome to Flute Q&A number 36. This question comes from Gail. He or she says, Jane, I am so very interested in learning the flute. I'm a beginner. When should I attempt to join the Flute Academy? I have a flute. I have a key scale map. Should I just try and play for a while before joining your academy? So that's a good question, Gail, and this video is actually going to answer a question from Brian as well. And he says, is the Flute Academy worthwhile for a strict beginner? So it's basically the same question. So I thought I'd answer them both in the same video. Now, firstly, Gail said that she has a key scale map. What that is a flute fingering chart. If you don't have a fingering chart of all the notes on the flute and which fingers to use, I'm going to put a link for you below this and you can go and print out this really easy to read fingering chart. So you can have that one if you don't have it already and you need one. Now, your question, Gail. Should a beginner join the Flute Academy? Firstly, if you're thinking, what's the Flute Academy? I've put a link for you below and you can find out more if you'd like to join. Now, strict beginners, to use Brian's terminology, strict beginners, I tend to say absolute beginners. It's not the right thing for an absolute beginner. Gail, you have a flute. That is excellent. Before you join the Flute Academy, I would recommend that you play for a while, like you said. Now, when you get to the point of being able to play most notes on the flute, when I say most notes, I don't mean the high notes. I just mean generally from maybe low D all the way up to about G. So approximately that range. So all these notes, not this fast. So if you can play all those notes, obviously slower than that, you're about the right level for the Flute Academy. Another prerequisite that I recommend for people is that you can play a couple of scales and a couple of melodies. So for example, a 1-octave scale like F major. And back down, and of course it can be slower than that. So if you can play a couple of scales, a couple of melodies, either using music or from memory, and you can play most notes that in the range of what I said there, that is the appropriate level, bottom level, to join the Flute Academy. The Flute Academy is good for more advanced beginners like that, like I just described, because it sets you up with proper technique, one step at a time through the Flute Academy, so that you learn with proper technique and it makes playing much easier and you sound a lot better. Now, if you're a more intermediate or advanced flute player, what the Flute Academy does is fix your technique. So it teaches you the way you should have been taught to start with. Maybe you were taught with accurate technique to start with. But I find that nearly everybody, especially if they were self-taught, not even especially, I would say definitely if they were self-taught, and even when they've had a teacher in the past, unless you've learned from a really, really, really good teacher, not all teachers know everything. So you're going to have holes in your playing. So what the Flute Academy does is plug those holes. It teaches you how to fix your technique, and you will see that your flute playing literally transforms. Which is why the course in the Flute Academy is called, hang on, can't multitask, the 45-day flute transformation. That is a course inside the Flute Academy, and it literally transforms your flute playing one tiny step at a time with proper technique. So come and have a look if you'd like to join. Brian and Gail, I hope that answers your question. Hold off. If you're a total beginner or you don't have a flute, firstly get yourself a flute, which you've done, Gail, and then make sure that you can play most notes, a couple of melodies, and a couple of scales, and then you'll be the right level to be able to go into the Flute Academy. Okay. You know what I didn't say is my name. My name is Jane Kavanagh. You probably guessed, I'm Australian. You also probably guessed, I'm a flute teacher, and I love teaching people proper technique. That's why the Flute Academy is based around proper technique. Proper technique which gets you instant progress, faster progress, instant changes to your flute playing. So I'd love to see you there. Download your free flute fingering chart if you would like to know exactly the notes, or I should say the exact fingerings for the notes. And of course, there's a whole lot more to playing the flute than just learning the right fingerings, which is why the Flute Academy exists. See you later.